Hey, and welcome to the Girl Boss Method. This is your 2025 game plan masterclass. We are going to build your body confidence blueprint. So, in this masterclass, we'll be looking at transforming your fitness, your nutrition, and your mindset for a confident new year. Now, before you pause or move on or dive in, I want you to just hang around until the end of this video because I will be giving away some free gifts. So, one will be my festive fat loss recipe ebook. And I'll also be sending you a guide with all the stuff that we cover today. So we're thinking all the workouts, the nutrition, the breakdown, all of those bits that we're going to be working through together on this call. And I do want to let you know before we move forward that this is absolutely there won't be any sales pitch on this masterclass. This is purely about giving you the stuff and giving you the tools to move forward and have an amazing start to 2025. And also, just to let you know that I won't be taking on any more clients during this month, during December, because we know that December gets really hectic, especially with like family life, social life as well. And we'll all be very, very busy in the next coming weeks. So I also want to just kind of frame that really that again, if this is something that you want to get started with sooner and you're actually keen to get started sooner before January, then you can take action by sending me a message after this call. So just sending me the word December and we can have that chat. Because after tomorrow, I will be closing my doors until January. So no more. And yeah, again, just coming back to it, the reason being, I just want to focus on the women that are in my community already. And it's just a very, very busy time of year for everyone. So let's go from January. So, who am I and why should you listen to me? So, my name is Ritu. I'm an online coach. I specialize in helping women with their health and fitness. And I've worked with thousands of people over the course of my 20-year career. Can you believe it? Getting in their best physical shape. So I've had to do this for myself as well, whilst managing my business, managing my fitness at the same time. And earlier this year, I turned 40. So I've been in here for a long, long time in this world. So we're going to talk about the new year. And now we're coming into Christmas. Definitely stick around because I'll be sending you that festive ebook as well. But when this period happens, I want you to enjoy it. And there will be some great tips for you to kind of follow again on my Instagram page. I'll help you through this journey during this sort of, difficult month for some people. But we know that when New Year's comes around, it's a new start, it's a fresh start, it's hopeful, right? We can often have really like positive intentions, but actually on New Year's Day itself, and definitely in the first few days for sure. Um, there could be a few like New Year feelings that come up, especially when you're thinking about sort of reflecting on how this year's gone for you. You might feel some resentment or disappointment, maybe some hopelessness and defeat because things haven't gone your way. They didn't go to plan this year. And perhaps you've got that fear of failure as well moving into the new year. And everyone's going to be on top of their fitness. It's just the way that it's always been, right? January comes, new start. There could be some confusion and overwhelm as well in terms of what you're being told or sold. You could again marry that up with some doubt and distrust as well from potential, things that you see on Instagram or TikTok as well. And again, if things haven't gone your way, you might even find that because of the way that Christmas was, you might even feel a little bit of self-blame or guilt. And you might even wake up thinking, do you know what? I'm done with another year of just trying the same things. So it's just really important for us to kind of just like set the tone, if you like, and talk a little bit maybe about some of the things that you have tried in the past. Perhaps you've tried this year with like cutting carbs. And then again, with cutting carbs, these might lead to some like short-term success, but quite often when people do that and they're reintroducing those normal eating patterns again, the weight gain comes back. And then we've also got the fad diets as well. And again, these can promise some really like quick results, but unfortunately, they are unsustainable and they can send you into that sort of yo-yo dieting and the hit overload. I want to bring this up because I feel like high intensity interval training is great and it can be really effective for some of us, but you might even be overdoing it or might have overdone it in the past. And again, you're overdoing it without even balancing it with strength training. And then because of the nature of those workouts and the way that the workouts need to be done, it can often lead you to like things like burnout, fatigue, and also insufficient muscle development. I know, right? Like that's not what we want. And then also we're thinking about these very calorie focused workouts that almost tie into that as well. Again, they can be quite heavily focused on things like cardio, and they might also like kind of push you towards that belief that this is the way to lose weight. They might even lead you to neglecting true resistance training. Um, and they can actually prevent you from achieving the toned physique that you're after, unfortunately. So what's the problem with some of this stuff? So yeah, plateau, right? Some of this stuff might work, but you'll have some initial success. Your progress stalls despite like the continued effort that you're driving in, especially when you're not seeing the results. And then we're thinking about the struggles. Life gets busy. It can get challenging to stay consistent and keep that same continued effort. Then we're thinking about the misinformation. January is going to come. Everyone's going to start telling you about the way that they're going to do things. Um, and again, the online and the sort of media world, it's often very conflicting. And because of that, it can lead to a lot of confusion about what actually works. And there's also a massive lack of personalized guidance. So, again, sometimes when you're trying things, you're using very generic advice that fails to consider your unique lifestyle, your preferences, and ultimately your goals. So, we're obviously going to be talking about my program here and why it's so beneficial. And again, these are some of the things that happen when, we're thinking about some of the old myths that are out there that you may have heard before. Lifting weights will make me bulky, or I need to do hours of cardio to lose weight. Trying to spot reduce this fat by doing, endless abs and core exercises. And then also, yes, energy balance is important, but just believing that purely eating less is better. And then also the whole cutting carbs thing being the best way to lose fat. And I'll tell you why none of this works. It's because it's a myth. It's something that somebody has, it's a whisper that someone's sort of let out there and they've said this has worked for them. Well, when it comes to cutting carbs, when you're cutting carbs, you're also, for every carb you eat, you also add or retain 3 to 4 grams of water. So when you're cutting the carbs, are you reducing the water? And then again, when we're thinking about the eating less is better, well, at some point, there will be some metabolic adaptations to eating less, and it won't be beneficial and it won't help you thrive. So it's really finding that fine point. And when it comes to fat reduction or reducing fat in certain areas, and we're thinking about belly fat, again, doing endless crunches are not going to be the answer. The crunches and working your core tones It builds, it helps strengthen an area, but it doesn't lose fat. And again, it's the same thing when people may have this sort of understanding that just by working hard, fast, and heavy and everything all at once, and just very much like, let's throw everything at it and calorie burn, that this is the stuff that kind of stops you from really making progress. So yeah, over emphasizing the action of cardio over true strength training, okay? Not sort of just using weights within a HIIT class, actually purely working through strength training. And then following the fad diets and extreme dieting, ignoring your recovery, your sleep, not eating enough protein, lacking the consistency, and the big one, the patience. Quite often, you'll see people that will start something, they'll give it a go for a couple of days or a week, and they'll go, well, it didn't work. Well, it hasn't worked because you haven't given it time or patience and just waiting for that to happen. So, we're going to obviously talk about the evidence-based strategies here. So, we'll work through these, prioritizing strength training, creating a moderate calorie deficit, balancing our macronutrients with a focus on protein, incorporating progressive overload within our workouts, and prioritizing recovery, sleep, and stress management. And these are the things that we cover within my program that I help my clients with. So today we're going to talk about the roadmap to 2025 success using our method, the Girl Boss method. So yes, this is a 12-month program. It's 2025, and it's not to say that this is exactly how you need to do it, but this is one potential format that we might use with a client to kind of help them. And this might be a really good approach for you to kind of body your own program around and follow as well. So we'll break it down into 4 different phases. We'll talk about the phases later on or shortly. But I could kind of give you a few little tips now actually about these since they're up on the screen anyway. But with the phase one, the phase one is ideally the kickstart. So this is January. This is hitting the ground running in January. It's using that sort of momentum and setting the foundation for your journey. We are going to be focusing on creating a calorie deficit that is specifically tailored to your needs, ensuring that it is sustainable for fat loss. And during this phase, we'll be building on some consistency with both our nutrition and our workouts, whilst developing habits that are going to help set you up for success, because we're not trying to get everything happening all at once. Again, it takes that consistency and that patience. So we're really thinking about the Kickstart as being like a starting point to 2025, where we are creating the structure and we're putting the steps in process to kind of that are needed to help you progress. So it's all about creating the small wins and the stackables that are all going to add up to your future success for 2025. And then we've got the shape and sculpt as we kind of move a couple of months down the line. And again, this is going to be where we're really focusing more so on like toning and building strength. So yes, in this phase, you will be more focused on, after we've kind of stripped away that initial fat loss, we'll be more focused on building the muscle as you continue losing the fat. So again, we're sort of focusing more on body parts. So, your arms, your legs, core, and all of those things, getting everything kind of working together, using your nutrition to kind of support your recovery and your muscle growth as well. And this ideally is where you're going to start seeing the changes in your strength and the definition that build that confidence and help keep that momentum going. Then we're going to bring it up to the confidence cut. So the confidence cut is actually more about summer, right? It's more about kind of like thinking about summer vibes. So we're kind of fine tuning your results to create more of a lean, confident look. And again, involves us working through some more strategies to help create some adjustments within your diet to ensure that you are getting that fat loss without compromising your muscle. So we'll be looking at enhancing that whilst maintaining your energy levels, staying consistent with your training, and really the mindset is going to be key here because we'll be helping build that confidence and celebrating also the milestones that you will have achieved by now. And again, this phase is all about sort of feeling strong, empowered, and ready to take on the world. And now we're going to move on to the final phase, which is our balance blueprint. So this one, you could almost say it's like our transition into more sustainable lifestyle while sort of maintaining those results that you've achieved. So the focus here is on finding balance and just sort of integrating the fitness and nutrition into real life. So we'll be working on developing more of those long-term habits that help keep you happy, healthy, whilst, again, learning to sort of indulge guilt-free. I don't know if you've heard of this sort of reverse dieting term as well. So we're sort of working on building you up to that point. And yeah, the goal here is really to help you create that lifestyle that you can maintain without feeling restricted. And again, this is where, the true confidence comes in and that sort of freedom that comes in. It all ties in nicely together. So, what we're going to do is break down for today our roadmap to 2025 success into three key areas or three key pillars. So we're going to master your nutrition within this training. We'll be talking about the most effective workouts that you should be doing as a woman and helping you create that lifestyle balance as well. So the nutrition. So first things first, the best way to get the results, the best, efficient, quickest, tried and tested. We are working through calories and macros. So we are going to be working through creating an energy deficit. And most diets are doing that. They are creating an energy deficit. Okay. No matter what it is, when it comes to, dropping body fat, for example, it's all coming down to that calorie deficit. So thinking about the calories, it's the amount of energy that you consume. To lose fat, you need to actually consume fewer than you burn, and then that creates the calorie deficit. The macronutrients that we need to really consider or be considering today will be your protein, your carbs, and your fats. And these play a very specific role in your body. So, protein, muscle repair and growth. So we'll be working through a certain amount of grams, again, per body weight, aiming for that calorie deficit. And I'll work through an example with you as well. For carbs, provide your energy, again, especially for your like workouts and stuff. And yeah, we want to focus on some good complex carbs like your whole grains, your vegetables, your fruits, and then your fats to obviously help you with your hormone production and your overall health. So, firstly, what I would like you to do if you're watching this back as well, or if you're watching live, is just spend a few moments, maybe even like screenshotting this, or actually, do you know what I will do is I'll send this out into that guide, the summary guide of this call at the end. I'll ensure that you've got this through so you can work through this with, in your own time as well. But ideally, we work through a calculation. So everybody has like a certain expend energy sort of basal metabolic rate, okay, your BMR, your what you expend at rest. So almost thinking about this as you sitting in a chair doing nothing, so no twitching, no moving, no nothing, right? So you have your sort of basal metabolic rate, and then you have your physical activity level. And there are various other things that we can kind of add into, or various different methods that we can look at as well. But this is what we'll be looking at when we're thinking about your energy expenditure. So we'll work through this calculation. We'll choose your physical activity level based on, whether you are a sedentary individual, you feel like you, again, this is like lifestyle based. So this isn't equating exercise, it's equating how you operate as an individual day to day. So again, thinking about sort of lightly active, moderately active, and very active. And again, there's some descriptions here in terms of choosing the appropriate physical activity level. This is all referenced as well. This is not just something that's made up. This is something that we need to apply to understand you a little more. And again, you can do this yourself. Think about where you sit in terms of like what your job's like or your lifestyle is like, and apply that there. Now, if I was to think about myself, I would probably say, believe it or not, I might even sit somewhere between a 1.2. I do have some activity throughout my day. I sort of try and get out and walk, but I do have a lot of desk time. So maybe I would be thinking about that. Then you need to kind of think about your calories and your macros. And obviously, again, when we are thinking about physical BMR, physical activity level, these are the things that we need to do to operate as a person. When we're thinking about exercise, that obviously adds in a whole nother layer of things as well. And again, this is all very individualized. You will be sent this information so that you can just kind of go in and apply it and see how it works for you. But again, when it comes to setting your calorie deficit, for example, if you want to lose half a kilo per week, then you might want to apply a weekly calorie deficit of 3,500 calories because that is equal to that amount of weight. So again, if we're thinking about this as being a 7-day period, this could look like a 500 calorie daily deficit. The first thing that you need to ask yourself, you might go, oh my goodness, that's how I lose that much weight. Wow, I can lose that much weight within a week. And this is what I can do within a couple of weeks or a month. You need to be realistic. You need to find out if this is actually realistic based on your own personal lifestyle needs. You don't want to drop so low and be in such a massive deficit that again, it starts you going or heading into that yo-yo where you end up overeating on other days. You know, you're overeating, and then this means that you're overeating overall over the course of those 7 days. Ideally, it's really important that you make it sustainable and realistic. So it might be that you want to apply a smaller deficit. A 500 calorie deficit is a 500 calorie deficit. But guess what? Even a 100 calorie deficit is also a deficit. So kind of think about sitting somewhere in the middle. So for you, it might be, maybe you might choose a 300 calorie daily deficit. So that's the calories done there. So then we need to think about our macros. So our macros, the first thing that you want to talk about or think about is always your protein first. So you want to think, I would probably say about 1.6 grams per kilo of body weight is a good place to start. Government recommendations are usually about zero point 0.8, but those do not factor in the fact that they don't consider that you might be trying to retain lean muscle mass or you might be trying to grow lean muscle mass. They don't consider that. So to optimize muscle building, you want to be sitting at least around that sort of maybe at a push 1.4, but 1.6 for this here. And then fats again can range anywhere between sort of 15 to 30%. And I would probably say 30% because I know that for the foods that we want to enjoy and want to eat, they can obviously be quite calorific in fats. And again, you'll have a bit more to play with when your fats are just slightly higher. And it's really important to have fats anyway, just for hormonal health as well. The remaining calories are actually sent towards carbs. So that's how we sort of predict our carbs that way. So again, this is a more advanced way of tracking, and I will tell you that it does take time, practice, and patience to nail. You want to keep it simple. So my best advice for you if you are starting out is to actually just focus on protein and overall total calories. And then just make sure that you're not excluding any macronutrients. So you're not going, oh my God, I'm anti-carbs, or oh my God, I'm going anti-fats or whatever. And then follow an 80-20 rule. So the 80-20 rule is like sort of 80% all the healthy good stuff and 20% of, happiness, right? If you look to try and exclude food groups and stuff and because you think I've got to eat clean, it's just going to make it unsustainable. So just be sustainable and realistic. And you want to make sure that you portion it, sort of around that 20% rule, around a bit of the fun when it comes to your foods and stuff. And track using MyFitnessPal. And then obviously you need to adjust where needed as well. When we're thinking about the phases that we talked about at the beginning, and we're talking about nutrition during these phases. So we talked about the kickstart and that initial fat loss that we're working, that foundation. You want to start with that moderate calorie deficit. So also we talked about calorie deficit using the grams method and thinking about how much you want to lose per week and applying it that way. You can also work with using a percentage. So if you find out what your maintenance is, again, finding out, your activity level and your BMR, and etc. If you find out what your maintenance is based on what you need to be able to do to perform, you can then kind of like do some maths here and go 15% of those maintenance will be the thing that I need to do for creating a sort of a steady fat loss. Always want to focus on those sort of high protein to help preserve that muscle. So let's say, for example, your maintenance is 2000 calories. You would then look to go 15 to 25%. Okay, so let's say you come down, I would probably say more like 15% deficit, so maybe more around the 1700 to start with. And again, when we're thinking now about that initial phase, we actually need to work. You don't want to spend the whole year literally deficit every single day. It's just not good for you physically nor mentally and metabolically and the rest of it. So when we're thinking about that phase two, we're sort of coming in towards we've gone through that first phase and maybe even thinking about this must be in like April, maybe April vibe. So sort of, spring coming, maybe even March, April. But yeah, so you adjust that deficit. So say if you went for a half deficit, you just a harsh deficit, like a 25%. You would just reduce that again based on what your current weight is, right? You do need to know how much you weigh in order to do that calculation. Or you could actually just set yourself back up to maintenance. And this is going to help you sort of add a layer in of phasing in sort of to fuel the strength and the recovery phases. So again, just supporting a bit more of that muscle building and just sort of taking it out of your brain as well, that you're in this sort of heavy diet only. So again, this is where you can manipulate and increase the calories again. So either going up to maintenance or just knocking them up a little bit from where you were. Then we're talking about the confidence cut. So this is why it's really important to have the phase prior. So you've had your initial kickstart, we've dropped some body fat. We've then come into that sort of shape and sculpt phase to kind of like help you sort of build again and increase the strength and help with that sort of retaining the muscle. The confidence cut is really important because it's almost like reintroducing that sort of controlled calorie deficit to help you lean out and refine your results. What I would say within this is actually opt for some diet breaks. Again, diet breaks, these can help with burnout if you've been in a deficit for a long time. And usually for this, I would recommend sort of sitting, sort of 1 to 2 weeks at maintenance and then reestablishing where you are and heading back into that deficit. And I think it's just really important metabolically as well, because the longer you're in a deficit, the more that you almost like start to drive down your NEAT as well, or your NENAT. There's so many different terms out there. We'll save it for another video. But yeah, just sort of thinking about all the fidgety stuff and the movement and the activity that you do day to day. And then we've got the phase four, which is your balance blueprint. So this is more of a transition into maintenance calories, or maybe even going into a surplus for sort of longer term sustainability. This is more of a growth phase, and I would usually say that this is more like the back end of the year. So thinking more like end of September, October vibes, almost getting you in towards Christmas, right? On a like sort of a lean bulk. But getting you in towards reverse dieting, towards maintenance calories. And again, this is the sort of thing that's going to help you kind of balance life, fitness, maintaining results as well. And again, this is just getting you into this phase is going to help you support your energy and overall health. And I think it's really important that, especially sort of around the sort of winter months, the sort of back end of the year, coming into more of that growth phase as well, really can help your health. I think it's often overlooked, but when you are in such a harsh deficit, and you start to compromise in terms of your immunity and stuff, so it's really worth bearing that in mind. Okay, so we're going to talk about some key tips. Okay, so adjust your calories. Okay, so again, you can adjust these sort of 100 to 200 calories every few weeks, again, based on your progress. Include some maintenance periods every few months to sort of boost your recovery, your metabolism. Again, maybe you've got planned holidays or birthdays and stuff. That's where this sort of ties in with that. You want to ensure that you're tracking your weight for you know, purposes of understanding or knowing where you need to go. And then your measurements really ideally is where you're going to see those results. And again, using your energy to kind of guide those adjustments as well. One thing that I haven't talked about when it comes to the measurements as well, and tracking your weight, it's really important for you to track progress pictures. Progress pictures are not there for you to see weekly changes. Progress pictures are there to kind of like map out and see how you've been changing over a long period of time. And it's very difficult to kind of go from, progress pictures where it's just like you've done it once and then you haven't done it for a few months. I think it's really important to build in all those other missing links throughout that whole phase. The fitness stuff, okay, the fun stuff. So fitness for me, it's the stuff that shapes us, makes us feel stronger, and leaves us feeling good. It leaves us feeling amazing as well, inside and out. So we're thinking about program basics here. You want to work on a training split. And so my recommendation for a training split for us women, especially, maybe 3 to 4 sessions per week that sort of emphasize the sort of muscle groups that we want to develop, right? And you want to ensure that you've got adequate recovery within this as well, in terms of the exercise selection. So including your compound lifts, so your squats, your hip thrusts, and then again, that's more for your maximum efficiency. That's where you're really going to be utilizing sort of the gains. And then, yes, you've got those accessory movements that, again, they could come later. They might come into your sort of shape and sculpt phase for the more detailed work. Rep ranges. So when we're thinking about lower rep ranges, those are more aimed towards strength. So maybe, again, that can be saved for more sort of the balance blueprint zone. And then when we're thinking about the muscle hypertrophy, these sort of 10 to 15-ish reps, that could be sort of, again, focusing on that during the confidence cut as well. So program basics again. So progressive overload is so important. I have an amazing video that talks about progressive overload actually. So if you do want a link to that, please let me know. I'll send that over to you. But again, with progressive overload, we are gradually increasing the weight, the reps, the sets over a period of time to just ensure that we are building muscle and strength. Rest periods are really important. And quite often with rest periods, people can ignore them because they just think, oh, I'll rest. I'll do my stuff. I'll work hard in the set and then I'll rest. But no, it's actually really important. And there is there is a method to this madness that compound movements do require longer rest periods. And in some training programs, you could even be looking at as much as 3 minutes per set. And again, that's obviously utilizing maximal strength and power within those. So it's just really important to consider the rep ranges as well. This is just a general guideline. Always focus on your form. Don't just kind of go, I need to whack the weight heavy and fast. Focus on that technique, take your time. And this is the stuff that's really going to help maximize those results. Cardio, when to add cardio. So again, thinking about the early phases when we're thinking about that kickstart. We've got you in a deficit in that kickstart. You want to focus on your strength as your sort of primary goal. Cardio is minimal. It's just the steps, it's the light activity, it's making it more sustainable. The later phases, so when we're thinking, more about sort of towards the confidence cut, that's when we can start introducing, 1 to 2 sessions of low to moderate cardio, think incline walking or cycling. And again, even if your goal is fat loss, don't go crazy with interval training with HIIT, for example. You do really want to try and like support your body through this process and not stress it. So just use it sparingly, 1 to 2 times a week. And again, like 10 to 20 minutes is absolutely sufficient. Balance is key. Cardio is there to complement, it's not there to replace strength training. Take your time with your strength training, don't go crazy. Again, when we're thinking about cardio, it's there to sort of burn extra calories, right? And again, ideally, the main focus is improving your cardiovascular fitness. Do not forget that. Cardio is not just for calories, it's for cardiovascular fitness. It's really important to do that. And why we choose that sort of low to moderate intensity, again, it's going to help you, achieve those or improve those results without hindering your recovery. Here's a split. Here's a sample split. I will include this in the ebook at the end of this video as well. But basically working through, for example, glutes and hamstrings on day 1. You've got your big movements, your barbell hip thrusts, and you can see that we've opted for sort of lower rep ranges. And then as we come on to the more accessory movements, like the cable kickbacks, that's an accessory movement, we're sort of moving more into the higher rep ranges there. And then, of course, not neglecting, ladies, everything is not just about legs, bums, and tums. Upper body is really important. Okay, so we've just got some really key exercises that I would recommend for sort of push and pull. So again, it pushes anything sort of, like your chest and your triceps, and pull is more, well, push is also shoulders, but pull is more your back and your bicep stuff. Okay, and then we're thinking about sort of legs again. So you can sort of, it's good to train a muscle group twice a week, ideally. So it's not like singular day for this, singular day for that. It's actually good to kind of like get that muscle sort of, working more frequently, not every day, but just sort of coming into day 3 here. So second leg session of the week. Again, good focus on quads, glutes, and core there. And then I've put this in as an optional, and this is, I'd probably say that this is probably more for the advanced trainee. Hip thrusting 3 times a week is, or even training lower body 3 times a week is hard. It's tough, okay? It's tough fitting it in and it's tough recovering. So just be mindful with this. Maybe this might be used the day 4 for when you're in that more either, the shape and sculpt, or when you're in the more balanced blueprint, those zones where you've got the fuel to be able to train harder and more frequently as well, and optimizing recovery. So, how to improve and build your own program. This is what it's about. I've given you my sample, but again, you want to begin with 3 to 4 exercises per session. Focus on the quality and not the quantity. More does not mean better. You don't want to try and think of all the exercises that you can think of for your bum. That's not what's going to work. You want to make sure that you're applying, the rules of a progressive overload, and really focusing on those. So Again, adjusting your volume. You can, again, if you can easily finish the sets and you're finding you're working through that quite well, increase the wet reps or the reps. Play around, work with different options. Again, monitor your recovery. It's really important. There is such a thing as a deload week if you are somebody that's really overtraining and it's time to add that in, then sure. But you shouldn't be feeling consistently fatigued or constantly sore. There are times where we need to like actually scale back, reduce the volume or intensity. This coincides nicely with holidays. Again, um, when it comes to rotating exercises, just making some small tweaks here and there. You don't need to kind of come up with a new thing completely. Every sort of, I would say, 10 to 12 weeks to kind of really give yourself a chance to learn the technique, maximize, your ability to kind of progress through it as well. Really important that you track your progress as well, ladies. So energy levels, how your body feels, just refining things as you go. And just again, a note here just to say, in terms of tracking your reps or your weights and stuff, there is an app called Strong, which is free. Um, and that's a good one. And here we go. Here are the free apps. So you've got Strong. Again, this is something you can just find, again with your app store or what have you. MyFitnessPal as well. We use MyFitnessPal within my program, my method. It's a great tool, and I have my own app. I have my own Girl Boss app, and so within that, we can use the data from MyFitnessPal to work through. And you won't even need the Strong workout tracker because, again, if you are working with me, then this is the stuff that I would do for you and would build that out in my platform for you uh, exclusively. But yes, for you, for the purposes of this call as well, if this is something that you want to work on yourself, then these are both really good apps. And finally, I wanted to talk a little bit about scheduling, weekly success and stuff. Again, be realistic with your priorities, what you want to focus on. Again, 30, 45 to 60 minutes per workout is plenty. Adjust your schedule based on your availability, energy levels. It goes without saying. And then obviously, plan your workout sessions, plan your nutrition as well. So you could sort of meal prep maybe once or twice a week. It's not to say you've got to line up, 7 or 14 Tupperware boxes in order to meal prep. It does not need to be like that. It's literally doing things like chopping up some vegetables, having them ready in a Tupperware in the fridge so that you've got it ready to access. It's ensuring that you know what protein sources are around, or it's again even just thinking about like food wastage and stuff and just using bits, right? So just thinking about what you've got, and then sort of planning in that sense. So you want to nail your protein intake, especially around your workouts. Steps is really key. This is going to help you increase that activity level. Sleep is where all the magic happens. Mindset. Spend some time just journaling, breathing, meditation. I think it's so important. And the ladies on my program as well, they always have an activity that they like, of an activity for fun. And again, for some people it may be like yoga, it may be coloring, believe it or not, and it might be pole fitness. Again, just sort of tweaking things based on your preferences. But yeah, stay flexible. Again, you want to shift your workouts around or adjust your calories, calorie banking. That's a really big thing. Definitely a great thing to do around now as we come into Christmas period, December. This is going to be great for you for the time being as well. But yeah, aim for consistency and not perfection. And here's a sample of how I would, yeah, this isn't my diary per se, but potentially this is for you guys, you ladies watching. We've got Sunday here. Maybe you're going to go and have a coffee with your friend, maybe a walk. That's a great way to kind of socialize. You then might head off to Tesco, do your weekly shop. You come back, you prep a few bits. And then when we're thinking about our work week, scheduling things in like, 20-minute walk here. oh, Friday, I'm not going to train, so maybe I'll do a longer walk in the morning. Wednesday, maybe you can't do any training or anything like that because you're traveling and you've got to travel into work wherever that is. So I just thought it would be quite interesting to put that on there as well. But Google Calendar is brilliant. It sets up reminders and stuff. And believe it or not, I schedule everything in there. My breaks, my walks, my training, my calls, my downtime to kind of get blocks of admin done. Absolutely everything is in there. And I actually put in reminders like as tasks to like do things like put the bins out. Anyway, it's all very, very helpful. But I'm going to leave you ladies here. It's been amazing having you on board with me. The next steps for you. You've got two options, two directions that you can do and you can take action to get the results that you want. So, option one, you can take all the information that I've given you, not forgetting that I'm going to put everything in an ebook and I'll send that out to you after this call. So, you've got a record of that. You'll have everything in this video. And within that, you can try and build your sort of own program and your own systems because there are many different ways to do things. It's not just to say that this is the only way. There are so many different ways to kind of build this out. Option two for you would be to hop on a call with me so we can discuss everything that that I've tried and tested with my ladies, working on how we can customize this to your needs to help you ultimately reach your goals in 2025. So there's two things for you, choices for you there. I'm going to send you across a summary of this call. So you've got that all accessible, easy accessible in an ebook. And then aside from that, not forgetting the festive fat loss recipes as well. They'll be sent on the way to you as well. And if you do want to take action and you are really keen to kind of take a space before I close my doors tomorrow, then just send me a message with the word December, and yeah, we'll book in, schedule that call. If not, have an amazing Christmas. Enjoy this period. Stay in touch. And yeah, wishing you the best for 2025.